And at one of those stops in Tampa, the President of the United States said something that we want to let you hear for yourselves because it is so shameless and cynical and is such a lie that even for this president, it's remarkable. This is the president in a rally with large crowds, most of whom are, as always, not wearing masks. The people behind him, as you'll see, have been given masks because the campaign knows they're going to be on TV and they want you to think the president is being responsible, but he's not. Most in the actual crowd are not wearing masks and are crammed together as close as possible. Here's the president's new claim.
We know the disease, we social distance, we do all of the things that you have to do. If you get close, wear a mask. Always controversial. It's not controversial to me. You get close, you wear a mask. Social distance, social distance.
Wow. I mean, this guy has no shame. He's telling a crowd of largely unmasked people who, as you see, are standing shoulder to shoulder. Shoulder often rubbing against shoulder. Yeah, we social distance, he says. We do all the things that you have to do. And folks are nodding their heads, clapping, cheering, spreading droplets into the air and onto the people around them, packed in tight. You get close, the president says, you wear a mask to a crowd of people who are close and not wearing masks. And he's saying it as if he's been saying this for months. Social distance, he says, to, again, a crowd not social distance. I gotta say, it is painful to watch people who also cheered when he mocked masks and social distancing. They cheered when he mocked those very same things. Now he is suddenly a convert. It's like he pulls the rug out from under them, and they go along with it. People in that crowd are going to contract COVID. That is the sad reality, and some may die. CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta and the CNN medical team investigated what happened after 17 Trump rallies around the country. They found in 82% of the events, the rate of cases rose a month later. And after more than half the rallies, they rose faster than the overall rate for the states in which they were held. Sanjay joins us shortly, along with an infectious disease specialist, seeing it all up close in Florida. In the meantime, think about all the times that the president has mocked Joe Biden for his social distancing circles and drive-in events, or reporters for wearing a mask, as he did just last week in the Oval Office.
This is Jeff Mason. He's got a mask on that's the largest mask I think I've ever seen. So I don't know if you can hear him.
So no, the president hasn't always been a fan of mask wearing or social distancing, and he isn't a fan of it now. Here's the president at a recent ABC News town hall.
There are a lot of people think the masks are not good. And there are a lot of people that, as an example...
Who are those people?
Well, I'll tell you who those people are. Waiters, they come over and they serve you and they have a mask. And I saw it the other day where they were serving me. And they're playing with a mask. I'm not blaming that. I was just saying what happens. They're playing with a mask, and so the mask is over, and they're touching it, and then they're touching the plate. That can't be good.
Now, keeping them honest, researchers at the University of Washington released a study projecting that 100,000 lives could be saved, American lives could be saved over just the next few months if everyone did what the president said is maybe not such a good thing, apparently because he's seen waiters touch their faces. And now he's saying he's always been for it, having spent months making it controversial. Even when he announced the CDC guidelines on masks, he started to critique them as he announced them, saying he wouldn't do it. It's like an arsonist who's back at the scene giving firefighting tips, or sending his chief of staff onto CBS This Morning. I mean, this guy. First, Mark Meadows. First, he lies about the administration's stance on all the above. Then he pivots to his own restaurant experience, which we're dying to hear, which apparently isn't shared by many these days, about how icky they can be.
The reason I want to jump in here is because I just want to clarify. I'm glad to hear you say that you're using Purell and that people should socially distance and wear a mask. That is not the example being set by the president. I believe it was Asa Hutchinson on Sunday on Face the Nation who said it's a little confusing for people. The president himself, your office, the vice president's office, they are not following their own guidelines. Can you see how that's a problem for people?
Well, I can tell you that I'm following the guidelines, and a number of us are following the guidelines. If you look at it, obviously, a number of us continue to look at this particular environment, and it's an unusual environment that we have, and so as we try to make sure that we come into contact with other people, making sure that we socially distance as much as possible, wearing those masks when we can. We strongly encourage that. I also, for all of you that are watching this morning, is if you can carry a little container of Purell. I mean, just think about it in a restaurant environment. You know, you're drinking from a drinking glass. Well, that drinking glass probably has been filled by a waiter or waitress that has touched every other glass. And so I'm hyper vigilant as we look at that. We don't think about the ways that we potentially can become infected.
Can you believe this guy? I mean, what is he talking about? I mean, that went on for what, like 30, 40 seconds. He's saying that, you know, he's seen waiters and you know, I'm really just stunned that the chief of staff of the president of the United States is encouraging mask wearing and saying, oh yeah, no, when asked about the administration, about the fact that the administration has become infected with COVID because they haven't been following guidelines, and the vice president, the people around the vice president are now currently infected, the chief of staff blows that off and just says, well, I do it. You know, and in fact, here's a little tip. You bring some Purell with you. Oh, thanks, Dr. Fauci. Wow. I mean, wow, Purell. Who thought of that? I mean, this is incredible that he is acting as if the fact that he personally does this somehow makes up for the fact that the man he represents and the man he works for is not doing this. And that right as he's speaking, that very day, they're going to have a bunch of rallies that are potentially super spreader events with thousands of people shoulder to shoulder cheering, spewing droplets on each other. And they're not telling those people to social distance other than the president's one little line today. I mean, I'm sorry, he's somebody who's supposed to be responsible, and that's his response. Man, we are in trouble.
That was Anderson Cooper, and I have never seen Anderson Cooper like this. He's one of the best journalists, I think, in the United States, political journalist. I have never seen him like this. So I had to go back and play it again and record it. This message needs to get out. The first time in history that Anderson Cooper is speechless.